I'm clicking the live now, so just feel free to...
We're live, are we?
Right, if you have a look on, it's saying that we're live cross-posted as well, so if you have a look there, have a look on the... It might take a second or two to sort of
do its
get
thing.
going and do its thing. Right, so I've clicked, we are currently live for the cross-post, it's saying that.
Yeah,
a second.
It's working.
Is it working on there?
Yeah,
right,
fantastic, thank you. Yeah, straight away.
And it is...
So if you do, you know,
saying it's on YouTube. It's on YouTube as well. Right, so it looks like
we're all good.
That is good there at the second there.
Fantastic.
So happy days.
Everyone's good. You've both got your mics. You're all happy.
I think so. Yeah, we're sharing mics, so we're going to have to make sure that the.
It's too late.
Hope, I hope that.
It's too late for a tea and coffee now. If you haven't gone to the toilet, I'm afraid you can't go to the toilet. Right, everyone's good. It's on Southend Airport. I've got questions here.
Brilliant.
Okay, let's kind of semi-officially kick things off.
Go for it.
So to camera, I'll say morning. It's about 10:30, so we're actually on time, which is great news for us. And thank you to Chris, because he set this whole thing up for us.
Not a problem.
In the tech department. This was going to be on an iPad, and now we're on...
Fingers crossed, guys. That's it. Fingers crossed.
If it goes wrong, someone text me, please. So if you've not got my number, get my number. But yes, so welcome, London Southend Airport. We're in the Jet Centre today, and I'm with Chris Newell from SDTV.
Hey guys.
Live, Speedbird.
Yeah, Speedbird.
Sort of changing a little bit.
Yeah.
And then my lovely sister Eve. So Eve is one of our very own air traffic control officers in the tower. She has climbed down from the tower today to come join us and hopefully answer some ATC aviation related questions.
Nice.
So if you've got any of those, chuck them in the comments. I will be rude and check them on my phone as I go. But please populate, otherwise we'll have nothing to talk about. So let's just try and kick things off. So very brief introduction as well for Chris. You might have seen him not in front of the camera but behind the camera twice at the sort of back end of last year. He joined us to do a couple of live streams of 2 EasyJet flights, and he's back today to sort of talk about that experience and again answer some questions and just sort of shout about how much he loves Southend Airport, really, which would be great. So first and foremost, I will start with you, Chris.
Thank you.
We've had a very brief introduction already.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah.
But just so that you get the chance to sort of explain what you do and why, can you tell me how you got into the whole live streaming of planes thing and why you love it so much?
The whole reason I got into the fact of sort of live streaming aircraft was it was just a sort of new technology, and it was a way to channel, I think, my passion and the love of aircraft. I've had a love of aircraft since I was probably about 4 or 5 years old. I remember the first time that I went on an aircraft. It was an Air 2000 757 heading to Mallorca. I just fell in love with it. I just loved every bit. And as time progressed and I grew up, I just wanted a way that I could hopefully just sort of channel it. Yeah. The live streaming availability came along on sort of Facebook, started off with an iPad or with an iPhone, and then it just went from there, and loved every single minute of it. And it's a fantastic journey so far. It's amazing. So that's the thing that got me into live streaming, just a way to channel the creativity and the passion for aviation and share it. So yeah, it's really, really good.
I think that's a big driver for lots of people here, is
100%.
The passion for what they do in aviation.
Of course.
And that leads quite nicely on to you, Eve. So Eve, I've mentioned briefly, she works in our air traffic control tower as an officer up there. Can you just sort of give us a brief timeline or overview of how you got into air traffic and if your role has changed at all over the years?
So I got into air traffic about 6 years ago. I was just applying for the RAF actually to do anything, I don't know. I actually came across the NATS website, so I just thought I'll give that a go, and then just sort of like flew through the whole process.
Nice.
And got into their training college, spent a year there, got posted to Aberdeen, did a bit of training up there, but thought, I'm from Rayleigh, Southend's only down the road, so I applied here and here I am. So 5 years later, I'm still here.
Quite a difference from Aberdeen and Rayleigh, I would think, in terms of, from one extreme to the other. Yeah. We've actually got 2 vacancies at the moment in air traffic, one for a control officer and one as a traineeship.
Nice.
So if we can try and incentivise people to apply as much as possible, if you could just sort of tell us what you enjoy most about your role and why people should think about maybe applying for the apprenticeship more than anything else, as that opportunity to develop and grow their career?
Yes, I mean, every day is different. Like, you turn up to work and you don't know what's gonna happen in the day. So it's always interesting. You're never really bored as such. Even on like a quiet day, there's always things to do. Like, there's vehicle movements, you know, airspace crossers. Like, people are always flying, and you know, you could have diversions. If it's quiet somewhere else, they could come here and divert. So we're in like a little pocket here where if Stansted or City fog out, Southend usually actually doesn't. It's like a little microclimate. So yeah, it's quite handy. But
when you say fog out, for people that don't
that's it. You're gonna have to explain
the phrase on the street, fog out. What does that mean?
So like, if somewhere's really foggy, it might not be foggy here, but like Stansted could be really foggy. So you know, we used to get quite a lot of diversions from like London City, especially on a windy day as well. So we used to get quite a lot of theirs. But you should definitely apply because, you know, like I said, every day is different. You don't actually need like any specific qualifications to do the job. It really is like how your brain works. So don't be like put off and think, oh, I'm not clever enough for that. You don't necessarily have to be clever as such or academic. It's literally how your brain's wired, so you may as well just give it a go.
Yeah, and there's training on the job as well, so people are hesitant to do it because they think, oh, I've not got the qualification for it. There isn't really an air traffic control qualification that you learn at school. It is on the job.
I think you only need like 5 GCSEs, like to get into NATS anyway.
Is that it for NATS?
Just 5 GCSEs, yeah.
So NATS, for people that don't know, is a really sort of big overarching training aviation people.
The national air traffic provider.
Yeah, the management, aren't they? They manage all of the stuff here. It's not just the UK either, is it, NATS? I think they've got stuff.
They do like Hong Kong as well, places, overseas,
But if you don't want to get posted to Aberdeen, feel free to apply for our apprenticeship, and you can just skip that part completely and come straight to us. So as I've said, we've got quite a few vacancies at the moment. I think there's about 5 or 6.
Settle, can I think that would be a good, guys, for anyone watching this, but what we always say on stream is that now that air travel is sort of getting a lot bigger, people always ask about obviously jobs in there. So if Sarah can sort of say about the jobs going on, once again, you know, please feel free to go and have a look and see if you can sort of get in. Aviation is a career, once again, for life, guys, you know, and it does bring really, really good benefits. So if you could just sort of explain that a little bit more, so that would be brilliant, you know.
Yeah, so if you pop on the website, it's www.southendairport.com. The easiest way to get to our careers page at the moment, if you do scroll to the very bottom, there should be a button that says careers. So just click on that. It takes you through to another page of ours that says, you know, please click here for the latest vacancies, and that will take you through to where you can see a whole list. As I've mentioned, air traffic control officer, air traffic control trainee assistant apprenticeship. We've got a vacancy at the moment in our facilities team. So if you're very much sort of engineering minded or experienced, that kind of thing, so if you like fixing things that are broken, not that there's a lot of that around here obviously, but feel free to apply. We do have a lovely team of the guys that work in facilities as well, so it'd be great to have you on board. We're looking to recruit quite a few people in security, so you know, we're sort of ramping up to the restart in March, 29th of March, Malaga, we'll mention that in a little bit. So security team are hiring, so it's a big responsibility. You're looking after people coming through as a passenger, screening, you know, checking baggage, making sure everything is above board, shall we say. There's another vacancy in safety and compliance. I can't deny I don't know too much about safety and compliance, but I imagine it's very important. So if that's a bit of you, please jump on southendairport.com and head straight to our careers section. Okay, so one aviation controller, one aviation
streamer, just a passionate person.
Very, very big fan who gets to travel across the UK, Europe, even further afield as well. I know your partner does that. We actually had a live stream here last year, I briefly mentioned.
It was great.
It was great.
It was amazing.
Like more than 18,000 people ended up watching it in total, not at the time.
No,
in total. So, you know, in the end, that was a great success for us.
It was.
As someone I
literally live down the road, it's amazing.
How does it feel to sort of be a part of that and to be able to show off what Southend has to offer?
It's amazing. I'm happy because I'm down the road from this, and this airport brings me everything that I could sort of imagine. It brings you the close-up views, especially if you're a plane spotter, and it's just accessible to everything. And being part of that, the way I looked at it, and I'm sure that I said to you last year, it was a bit of that history that's going on after the transition that's sort of gone on through COVID and things like that. It's so nice to actually see the airport start ramping up its operations again, and it was so nice to document it on film, and even with the viewers and people that have seen, so nice to document that, and especially from the amazing view that you gave me at the tower. I still can't thank you enough for that, by the way. No, it was just brilliant, and being able to sort of be part of that and see the airport come back to life again after quite a bit of a struggle was just fantastic. And it's such a humbling experience seeing that, you know. And not only that, I got closer to any aircraft than I ever did, you know, and the views up there were just amazing. So I'm more than happy to see the airport thrive and start to survive. And from what I've seen about the airport operations, I think you had 1,100 flights, wasn't it, or something like that? I think it was, that was moved around. It's just incredible seeing it come back to life. So forever humbled and absolutely amazing to be part of it. So once again, thank you, you know.
That was a recent sort of very good day for us.
Yeah.
You probably know a little bit more about this than me officially, rather than me get it wrong, but it was to do with aircraft movements. So we had more than 1,000 in the course of that week. Aircraft movements, people were asking at the time, you know, what does that actually mean? They know there's no commercial planes happening. How do you have 1,000 movements? Could you sort of explain that term of phrase for us?
Yeah, so movement is basically anything that touches the runway. So if you've got someone doing a touch and go, it's technically 2 movements because they have technically landed and departed. So if someone's doing like 10 circuits, which you can easily do in an hour, that's already 20 movements. And we have, you know, up to like 4 or 5 in the circuit on a good day, continuously. So that's how we've managed to do it. I think like one of the days we did over like 250 movements in a day, or it might be more than that.
Yeah.
But
and that re-emphasises the fact that people might think there's no commercial flights happening, why do I want to apply to be an ATC? There's still plenty going on in the meantime.
There's always something going on. I mean, we've got an offer for general aviation pilots at the minute, so it's £6 a circuit.
That's
so
cheap.
yeah, it's
that
a very
is very
cheap.
good deal.
Yeah,
very good
so
deal.
there's no landing
excuses
fee at the
really,
minute for them
Yeah.
to like touch the runway. So yeah, and then we've increased our training slots for ILS training, people doing their ATPL.
Yeah.
Let me just hold you there.
Yeah.
ILS training.
Come on, control it, there we go.
Sorry, so basically the EasyJets, they use like a landing system. It's sort of, I won't go into detail how it works, but everything uses a landing system, so they're like on a straight path to land.
Yeah.
But you have to learn how to use it. So anyone who wants to be like, for example, an EasyJet pilot would have to go through like a really big detailed training course.
Yeah.
And part of that is using ILS. So we do that here, like they'll come from Stapleford or North Weald and they're all doing their courses. So yeah, every half an hour, or sometimes we double book, so we've got 2 every half an hour using the ILS training.
Easy. So there's lots going on.
There is a lot
there
going on,
is.
yeah. I mean, it's not just like, you know, as you say, we're not just a commercial airport. We do training, we do general aviation, we do
And at the same
cargo.
time, we're sat in the Jet Centre.
In the Jet Centre, yeah.
So for people that don't know, we have our own Jet Centre on site. So if ever you think to yourself, I don't know, how does so-and-so manage to get in without me knowing? They've probably come through the Jet Centre. So, you know, I can say this because they put it on their own social media a few weeks or even months ago. If you're a West Ham fan, for instance, they often land here and fly in and out of the Jet Centre, which it's great for us and great if you're a West Ham fan. Not me personally, but great if you're a West Ham fan. Wonderful. So we asked for a few questions from the public, the general public over the week, just so that we had lots to talk about as we go along. So I've got a few of them now. So kick things off, we had a question from a lovely lady called Kay Tippin. She asked, I guess, a safety question. I imagine maybe Eve, you probably know the answer to this. It's maybe quite self-explanatory, but if you don't know, you don't know. She asks, is the ruling of 2 pilots per aircraft in place for safety reasons?
Yeah, definitely. So I don't know if everyone saw in the news last week, but I think it was like in America somewhere, one of the, I don't know which airline it was, but the captain actually passed out on takeoff. So the first officer, which is like their backup pilot, took control and came back round and landed again. And it is actually true, like you read all these rumours, but I think they do actually have 2 different meals just in case, because you don't want to get food poisoning, like both of you. So yeah, it's all for safety. Like if one passes out, the other one can take it, and vice versa.
Your emergency backup that you hope to never use.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, we're all human, so you know, if you don't feel well, you don't feel well. You don't know when it's going to happen. So.
And I would like my pilot to feel well when flying my
100%,
plane.
yeah.
So that's great. We've actually had a few people sort of jumping on as we've been going. So Jamie Popplewell says, welcome to my local, Chris. So that's nice.
Thank you very much. Absolute pleasure to be here.
And Ron Circus said he did 12 circuits recently. So that's kind of a shout out to the ATC team. So thank you. Keep them coming. Let's see. Lots of people watching, which is really nice for us.
This is really good, actually.
Yeah.
So I've got one, if you don't mind.
Please do.
Right, who was this that asked this? Where is it gone? I've just lost the question now. Typical,
Honestly,
absolutely typical. Right, hang on.
I've got a question for me ready to go. So
I'll tell you what, go for your question, then I can find it, Sarah. Sorry, we're in the rush.
So Sarah Johnson, she said that she applied last year for an ATC role. She heard back, and they do have the qualities that they look for. So that's really good. So keep applying. That's the kind of thing we want. Clive Everly, I hope that's correct.
Clive,
he's sort of asking a question that I was going to ask, but we'll just jump straight to it.
Go for it.
He wants to know, Chris, if you'll be back doing regular streams from Southend, or as regular as possible. He used the airport many times in the 60s and 70s.
He done his training here in the 60s. He did. Clive is an absolute legend of a man. He really is. And Clive, hello to you. Hope you're doing well. Yes, of course, I would love to. If Southend are happy for me to come back here and do streams, I'd be more than happy to turn up here every week. Not putting things in your.
Well, I mean, you're putting it out there.
Yeah, I'm putting it out there, but you never know what's around the corner, guys. I'd be more than happy. But
you say that. In fact, we actually are restarting again commercial flights on the 29th of March, which is a Wednesday. Feel free to book. We are flying to Malaga if it's not sold out, which I would like to assume it is. Chris, do you want to come back?
Yes, right. Greg Turner. Greg, how are you doing? Right, how much is Southend expecting to expand with, i.e. the routes and the traffic in the next 5 years? So he's looking at long term. That's quite a nice question. Yeah,
that's
the 5 year plan.
Like when you really sit down for an interview. What's your 5 year plan?
Yeah, what's your 5 year plan?
Well, look, I mean, needless to say, obviously we want to get as many flights as possible, as many destinations as possible. Pre-COVID, pre the pandemic, we were flying to more than 40, I believe. Eve, correct me if I'm wrong.
Probably.
Too many to count. Of course, the shame of everything that happened over that period happened. You hear about lots of airlines. The phrase we're using is that they consolidated into London, which makes sense. So, where they knew there was still really high demand, that was the core central of London, so they went there. In the meantime, we're very happy with EasyJet. We've still got flights this summer, but we're always speaking to airlines. That's what we do day in, day out, in the hopes that we can secure as many as possible. So we've had a great piece of news recently with Amsterdam.
That was brilliant news.
Yeah,
that was
really,
fantastic
really
news.
Positive news, and people seem to have responded to it really well. The first flight sold out within, within an hour or something.
I tried to get the first flight, it just didn't happen. It didn't happen.
Come to me, should have come to me first. But yeah, so I know it's generally quite a vague response, but it is, still true.
It's a massive step in the right direction, Sarah.
It
really is.
Step. Constant communication with airlines. It's all we want to do for people. We can see the demand for all these destinations, and it will happen.
Of course.
It just takes a very long time. I'd love to explain the real nitty-gritty ins and outs of it. I don't know all of them, but maybe another time.
Yeah, maybe another time. I've just got a very positive comment here, actually, Sarah. Someone on YouTube is 01 Task who's saying he lives 2 miles from Doncaster, Sheffield, which unfortunately has sort of succumbed to some very sort of bad news. But he said, seeing this here now, he said, this is such a nice thing to see, and it is making such a difference in the local community. And seeing the local airports sort of coming back to life is brilliant. So that's just a bit of a pat on the back, I think, for Southend. So I have to put them little things out there. Like, I think that's such a nice thing to see. It's absolutely brilliant.
Nice. We are really trying our best. We do a lot with the community as well to try and sort of make everyone aware that we're still here. We're not going anywhere. We just want to keep reassuring everyone of that fact. So hopefully, thank you very much. We're doing a successful job of it. So we've got one question here from Jack. Jack Rockneen. I'm really sorry if that's pronounced wrong. Afternoon all, or morning. Fantastic to see Chris and Eve here at Southend. What one route would you both like to see added to the schedule? Oh, controversial question. Should have fielded that one. By the way, this is not saying this route is coming. This is just a personal response.
We're just asking.
Personally, I'd like Dubrovnik, just because I went there last year and I had to fly from Gatwick. And I wish I took advantage of it when it was here, because we flew to so many places and I never really went anywhere. I was just too busy, I work here, so I see this all the time. I don't need to go for like a day, but actually I wish I did. So yeah, Dubrovnik.
And Chris, you're hopefully sussed with
yes,
Amsterdam.
I'm more than happy with Amsterdam, but I would like to potentially add another one, either Prague or Tenerife. I would love to see something along that sort of line. I think the more you've got to sort of hand it to EasyJet, the more that they can sort of put in, especially city destinations, I think that would be a massive boost. I think city destinations from Southend would be a fantastic vibe. So fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Pamela's just said the same thing. Pamela Sinclair, will there ever be a time to have internal flights, Blackpool or Cornwall?
Yeah.
Of course, hopefully that's exactly what we want to do. But as I've said, at the moment we've got real great success going to Spain and obviously Faro in Portugal. We're flying to Malaga, Faro, Palma de Mallorca and Amsterdam right now. That's not to say that will be the same way forever. Obviously, we want to grow as an airport. That's what we're here to do.
Yep.
So, of course, I'll add it to the very long list of recommendations that I've got from people. So, Blackpool and Cornwall.
Very nice.
Okay, we actually get questions quite a lot about destinations,
Yep.
unsurprisingly. Sometimes the odd one does creep up for a little bit further afield than, say, for instance, Europe. Lots of people ask, is it possible to fly to America, but generally the response is kind of a hard no, unfortunately, but there is a very good reason for that. Eve will probably be the best one to shed some light on this. It's to do with the runway and planes, obviously.
So directly to America, no. The runway is only just over a mile long. It's actually a really narrow runway. You wouldn't be able to get a plane big enough to fly there. Technically, we used to fly to Dublin, and you could have all your visa checks done at Dublin, and then you board a plane to America. So, technically it is possible, and it's actually really easy. It used to be like quite a quick process at the airport.
Was it easy breezy? Was it?
Yeah,
easy breezy.
It was.
Good.
But we can't extend. I don't think you can extend the runway any more than it already is extended. You've got houses this and a railway line one end and a road the other.
Yep.
And it is very narrow as well. We've already got a church that infringes the runway strip.
The strip.
You're meant to know all these technical terms.
The runway strip, So because it is quite narrow, I think it's a captain's only landing as well for like most operators. So it makes it
only is in they've got to manually land it.
It has to be the captain that lands it,
Not the machine or anything like that.
No.
So no Terminator business.
I don't believe so, no.
Speaking of the runway, this is where I come across as a real naive aviation human. There are numbers on the runway. People often ask, what are those numbers actually for? There's runway 23 and runway 05, they don't seem to correspond at all. What does that mean?
So runway 23 is a magnetic heading, so it's heading 230, well, it's actually 235 degrees, I think. And then 05 is 050 degrees.
As in like on a compass?
On a compass, but it's magnetic. So it used to be, was it 04? No, 24 and 06.
Yes, changed a bit, didn't it?
Yeah, so every few years, the poles shift. So the runways numbers have to change.
So it's all very technical and there's science behind it and all that sort of thing. Okay, I'll quote you on that in future. Angela Platt says, I'm a past member of staff. Great to see everything picking up again. Thank you very much, Angela. That's very nice.
I do have another question.
Yep.
There was something that was also posted up online. Richard Brown's asking, what difference will the increased airspace make to Southend Airport? Because there was a bit of an increased airspace that you've got now, isn't there?
Let's see if you read the press release I wrote the other day.
No, so we use it. So it's actually quite handy. So it's like I said before, if we had a really bad weather day, like it was foggy here, quite a lot of commercial aircraft go into the hold. And it used to be that our hold was directly above the airport, so we could only use 2,000 and 3,000 feet because our airspace isn't actually quite very high vertically. So now with that airspace, we can actually hold further out over over the North Sea even, to the east, up to, I think it's about 5,000 feet.
Wow.
So it just gives us more levels in the hold.
Yeah,
nice.
And it's a really positive change, I think, as well. Hopefully it sort of demonstrates to airlines that, there's the space here for their aircraft. There's more space for aircraft in our controlled airspace as well.
Yeah.
So if you're not here now, then now's the time to come along, because if you can't fit in the long, in a few years' time, then we probably won't get 10,000 feet worth of airspace, I imagine. There's a difference, isn't there, between controlled and uncontrolled airspace? Which one are we, and what does that mean?
We have controlled airspace around here. So in like a 2.5 mile radius of Southend, it's an ATZ, which is an aerodrome traffic zone. So that's, if you ever see a control tower, they're in an ATZ. So every airport has one, like Gatwick, Heathrow. And then you have beyond that, it's like a control zone and control areas, and they're up to different levels. Directly above Southend, it only goes up to 3,400 feet.
Wow.
And then above that, you've got the London TMA, which is like sort of like overflights, and like it's very busy, congested airspace. I think it's one of the most complex airspace in the world in London.
And there's a good positive to the increase of airspace for airlines. I think I'm trying to quote my own press release now. Very helpful, John Williams, as well. Thank you for helping me with the information on that, because I didn't know the answer. It's to do with it's less fuel consumption for airlines on their descent, which reduces noise as well for people. So that's a nice positive.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, it is correct. Yeah. So it's called a CDA, continuous descent approach. So they use less fuel. If they keep having to stop and level off, it uses fuel, and then they have to descend again. So actually, you can just come straight. I think we get given them at 6,000 feet from London, and it's just a straight descent down into Southend.
Yeah, wonderful. Actually, you said about Dublin connecting to America before. Nigel Wallace just said we used to book in for JFK via Dublin. Very good and very easy. So,
wow.
It's as you say, technically possible.
Yeah,
so,
it does work.
Let's see what happens in a few years, guys. Maybe we get Dublin, who knows? We actually had a really sort of quirky question that someone asked in the lead up to this. Steve Tanner, he wants to know, completely nothing to do with aviation, have you guys ever encountered a UFO? So I don't quite know where the I want your aviation questions part got lost in that, but it does fly. So, I mean, Chris, you're obviously out there all the time, live streaming. Have you ever seen anything that
the closest I think I've ever caught to a UFO would be what I thought was, what was it? It's like they light, I can't remember the name of it. It's what they put out for a memorial. It's like not a balloon, but it's something like a candle, like a candle lantern. Yeah. I did think that was something else, but then actually zooming closer in, it was realising it was just a lantern. So that's about as close as I've ever got to a UFO.
Perhaps not a UFO, but have you had any sort of scary moments on a live stream? You're out in all sorts of weather and everything.
Yes, there has been some very hair-raising moments watching some aircraft land. For instance, I caught an Airbus A380 at Heathrow in 2020. The aircraft landed almost sideways onto the runway, and it was pretty hair-raising to say the least. He probably should have went around, but that's a sort of a cause for debate, but that was hair-raising. Anything to do with windy weather, that is always a sort of hair-raising sort of thing. But on the plus side, you can always look at that as the pilots. It should give you that confidence just how well they're trained and just how much training they go through. So anyone that is afraid of flying, I wouldn't ever say be scared of the wind. But
there's two pilots anyway.
That's it.
You'll be absolutely fine. Okay, so let's have a look at some of these questions that we've got here as well. So Jay wants to know, Jay Page, what's the largest aircraft that can land and take off at Southend? So that would be one for you, Eve. And I guess, Chris, his second question was, what's the biggest plane you've ever live streamed? So let's start with the first part of that. So Eve, biggest plane that you've seen or you know of that's landed and taken off? So
since I've been here, the biggest one I've seen land, technically, I think was a C-17 because it did a touch and go. So it's technically landed and left. But in terms of one that's landed, parked up and everything, I think it's a TriStar. I might be wrong, but...
So if anyone knows, feel free to
let
us know. Yeah. There's a fantastic Facebook page, so Southend Airport Then and Now. If you're an aviation fan and a history fan as well, I definitely recommend joining that group. Most days of the week they will post throwback pictures of aviation times gone by here at Southend. So if anyone in that group knows as well, pop it in the comments, and it would be great to get that sort of confirmed. It's a bit of a debate that we've had a few times, so it'd be really interesting to find out. Jack says he's just applied for the ATC role whilst watching this stream. So
very nice.
Good luck,
absolutely
Jack.
Brilliant.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, we've got one here. Greg is asking, have you had any problems with drones at Southend?
Rarely.
Yeah.
We do rarely get a report from like the police and a member of public who said, oh, I've seen a drone. Most of the time we don't actually see them. I think I've only ever had it once, and I had a report of a drone on final approach and I had something, but I mean the safest thing is just to send something around and keep it away. But they're actually really hard to spot. So when we had British Airways a couple of months ago filming, they had a massive commercial drone,
Yeah.
and we were actually actively looking for it, and we knew it was over the runway, but we couldn't see it. So that's actually how hard they are
As in
to
like
spot.
by sight sort of thing.
Like, yeah, well, we have to see everything from the tower. Like, it won't come up on our radar. We'll just have to look through it out the window. I mean, it's, you know, they're the size of a bird. It's like, oh, there's a drone a mile away. Well, I can't see a bird that far away, so I won't see a drone. So it's actually really hard to spot.
So it's very important, really, if people do want to fly drones. There are strict rules and
Very strict
regulations
rules, yeah.
around the airspace. Well, you know, in terms of people wanting to sort of do that kind of thing or film nearby, where is a safe place where they don't actually start impinging on our airspace?
Oh, that's
I
a good
mean,
question.
technically, I think it's outside of 5 kilometres of the airport, and then I can't remember the length it is from the end of the runway. But if you go onto the CAA's website, if you get a drone for Christmas or for your birthday, definitely look up the drone code and read the rules on it, because you are like essentially becoming a pilot then if you're in control of a drone.
Yep.
And we are controlled airspace, and you know, you might live in, you know, like Rayleigh, for example, but technically half of Rayleigh is in my airspace as a tower controller. So technically you can't fly your drone very high. So always check.
And the busier we get, the more dangerous
Yes,
it
of
can be.
course.
Yeah.
So that's very, very important that people know where they can and cannot fly.
yeah.
That was a good. There was another question here that's been asked. What is the maximum amount of movements that Southend can actually deal with when you do get to that busy period?
So you're looking at me like I will know that.
Right. So
no idea.
what is?
I don't actually know
I
the
just
number,
post on Facebook, yeah.
but it depends on the direction of landings. If you land on a 2-3, we have a turning circle at the end. There's no parallel taxiway. So you have to land, turn around, vacate,
Backtrack,
and then,
isn't it? Yeah,
and
backtrack.
then the next one can land, or you might have to take off something in between. It's a bit like how London City used to be,
Yes.
but now they have that full
New
length
taxiway,
taxiway,
yep.
which really helps. So yeah, I don't actually know what the exact number is, but that does make it difficult. If you're landing on 05, it's actually quite well. I say it's easier to land and vacate, but then if you're departing, you have to enter, backtrack,
Yes.
turn around, and depart. So it's actually really complicated. So I don't actually know the number.
And one other question. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm sort of hijacking there.
No, please do, honestly, I'm running out.
This is a good one. The military aircraft use Southend. Now, we've covered this, haven't we? Obviously, you've seen the C-17 and the, so would you like to sort of go on that? Obviously, the military, and what would they use it for? Are you allowed to speak about that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
Buffer him away if you can't answer.
Yeah, buffer me away. So that's it.
No comment.
Well, we enjoy seeing the military aircraft coming in because it's different for us. Like, we don't see it very often. And, you know, it's big aircraft, it's fast jets, it's fun to sort of like mix it in with the slower, like Cessnas and Cherokees, like your standard general aviation planes.
No offence, Cessnas and
No offence,
Cherokees,
no.
yeah.
But it becomes fun because they're so much faster. They can be like, I don't know, 7 or 8 times faster.
You were here with the Red Arrows and all that sort of thing.
Yeah,
weren't you?
so
Wow.
they based themselves here for their air shows in the summer. That was fun, yeah. But they do like quite a lot of different procedures. So their landing's not just a simple landing. They'll do this thing called a run and break. So they'll come in, do a low approach over the runway, sort of visually check out the runway, break off and come round again, which is not actually very standard in like general aviation. They'll just land.
Yep.
So it becomes very complicated and it's fun for us. But yeah, they do use us for training. They do ILS training the same as any other pilot would. So yeah.
Cool.
Brilliant. Another question,
I can
right?
see it coming down.
They're coming through sort of thick and fast now. And it's sort of like on that. So Pat Transit is asking: are there route incentives or basically support, or are Southend Airport offering this in order to sort of attract the new airlines? Is there any sort of incentive or another bit of incentive that the airport are offering?
Yeah, I can't sort of go into too much detail on that side of things,
Yep.
but obviously, generally speaking, we always try to demonstrate to airlines, A, how much demand there is for people in the local area, and as well, you know, we've got really good connections in East London.
Yep.
You know, that access that you can have from jumping on a train at London Liverpool Street. You'll be at Southend Airport station. I think it's only 53 minutes.
That's so
And
quick.
to get from the train station to the front door of the terminal, it's only 100 paces. So realistically, you could be from Liverpool Street to the front door at the terminal checking in within the space of an hour.
Yeah.
So we really try and highlight those key positive messages that we've got. You know, we've got, as I've said, you know, the increased airspace. That's a great positive. We'll start putting that to airlines potentially. But that driving force of how many people are in our catchment area as as well. I believe it's about 8.2 million people in
a
the
lot
catchment
people.
of the airport, and obviously you've got a fantastic pocket of people, maybe into Kent, potentially up into Colchester, and again East London, that we can really sort of target. That maybe, you know, they wouldn't necessarily think to fly from Southend, but there's a real potential there to demonstrate how quick and easy and efficient our operation is. So that's that's what we do more than anything, just to try and demonstrate to airlines that, you know, they're almost missing a trick a little bit. It's right on the doorstep of 8.2 million people, and people in London that, for instance, can just very, very easily get to us, maybe quicker than they can get to other airports. So the more people you can get through the door, the more people on seats, the more planes in the air, sort of thing. So that's what we try our very best to showcase as much as possible. As well as everything else that there is to talk about and all that sort of stuff.
It's amazing.
Julie Rawlinson. Hey, Julie. I love you, Julie. Julie, I won't comment about where you're probably posting from today, because I'm not going to touch upon that one. She's asking, are you still affiliated with Stowbar? Not at the moment. We had a bit of a rebranding, I guess you could call it. So we're now under Eskin Renewables and all that sort of thing. We do still have a few little bits that say Stowbar on, but we're in the process of chucking all that out and then rebranding again. So not anymore. But yeah, so onwards and upwards with that question. Nice and easy, really simple. She says as well, what are your favourite names on your little luggage trucks? Is there one called Julie? They could very well be. I don't actually know the answer to that. We do have names on the fire trucks, one of which is actually Amelia Rose. We had a lovely family coming in a few months ago, a mother and daughter and her family. She told us that about 10 years ago, she actually named her daughter Amelia Rose after the fire truck. She watched a documentary on Stowbar at the time, bringing in a new set of fire engines, was inspired and called her Amelia Rose. So she popped down to have a visit of that with her family. So none called Julie that I know of, but one at least called Amelia Rose, which is a really lovely story. So we've got a question here from Darren Peacock. Thank you very much. Probably for you, Eve. Obviously, you might not want to answer this one. We'll see how you feel. So he asks, what's the oddest radio message you've had to deal with? While I was at RAF, oh goodness, Akrotiri, I overheard heavy landing, paved ways have detached from aircraft. I don't know what that means, but if you've had anything odder that you can reveal.
Give me time to think about it, and I'll probably come back to you at the end, because I can't think of anything right now. But
obviously,
I've definitely
something
had
that's like safe for work levels of odd, please. That would.
Yeah, I have got one in mind, but I don't think I could say.
That is absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine.
Sarah, can we just go over someone again has asked? Just wanted to reiterate, Southend's catchment area was 8.3 million people.
8.2.
8.2. So there you go, Ian. 8.2 million people.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I saw
it's massive.
Yesterday. It's honestly, it is massive. It is surprisingly massive. And you think, obviously, if you look on a map to the right of us, it's just a whole strip of Colchester. What's under Colchester, like Ipswich, I think. And obviously, you've got Essex, that whole area, and slightly further down, because you've got the Elizabeth line now that's coming into play, and that takes you directly to Shenfield and Liverpool Street. So that connectivity piece is developing. So that sort of increases our catchment area as well. So getting to the airport, there's no problem on that front. No. It's just letting people know about it and how easy it is to get to the airport and all the perks that you get when you get here. So yeah, approximate catchment area of 8.2 million in terms of who can access us on a train, which is the most sustainable way. We have electric trains, yay for us. Okay, here is one. So Sarah wants to know, not me, different Sarah, are we expecting the BBMF flights back this year with the Red Arrows and the Typhoons? Seeing the huge response that was there last year and the increase in population to the airport on those days was lovely, I assume. I guess I can't really confirm, but it would be wonderful if they were back. You obviously spoke to them on the radio. Did they give any inclination? Were they happy with the operation that we had here?
I hope so.
I hope so, yeah. I didn't hear anything bad.
No, I don't know. I mean, I controlled them for the day, so, and then I watched them on my day off, which is also fun. But yeah, we don't know until they ask, so yeah.
It's a similar situation, obviously. So yesterday we had an A400 come in, but that was just sort of a booking on the day, isn't it, sort of thing. So with, I guess, military, you never quite know, which is fair enough. It's the military, you know, you don't want to give away too much.
No, of course.
But I guess in answer to that, we hope so. We would love for them to come back. I had a wonderful time with them over those few short days. I was very lucky to speak to pilots and interview and go up to the planes and all that sort of thing. So it would be great.
It was amazing seeing that typhoon here. Yeah.
And I'll make sure you know next time.
Yeah,
as well.
thank you.
So,
Literally, I only found out about it. Saying that, guys, on the way back yesterday, Sarah texted me and let me know that the A400 once again was turning up. I was on the M23, so it's like literally just sort of pulled over. So yeah, there we go. But thank you. Any heads up would be amazing.
I'll try my best. When I know, I will let you know. Okay, how often do you have to change the runway numbers?
You said that.
Do we know?
I don't actually know. I don't know if it's necessarily a regular interval, but it just depends on how much the poles move. Like the north and south poles, they're not actually fixed. It's not geographical. It's magnetic. So yeah, it just depends on how fast it moves.
Maybe decades, something like that.
Probably,
yeah.
Because I know it happened quite recently, a change, so I can't imagine it would be any time soon.
Yeah, that's fair enough, I guess. I mean, it's one of those weird technical behind-the-scenes things that goes on that we probably have nothing to do with, really.
With us,
yeah. Or back on the track of things that we do have influence over. Chris,
go on.
I've just thought of this question, but I'm just generally curious to know. Okay, you've only been here twice.
Yes.
You do a live stream. What's been your favourite live stream ever?
Oh, my favourite live stream ever.
If you've got one that really sort of stands out, feel free to say Southend.
Southend was amazing. No, to be honest with you, the first Southend stream that we done here, being up in the tower, broadcasting from there, was fantastic. I've never seen a view like that. That was amazing, and it's hard to pinpoint a favourite stream because there has been a lot. There has been a lot, and I look at it. Every one of them is brilliant because of me as an aviation enthusiast. Every one of them's fantastic. You know, I don't think I can pick one over the other because it's all my passion and it's all aviation. So yeah,
So Southend.
No, yes, Southend. But we'll go with Southend. There we go.
All right, wonderful. So we've been doing this now for about 40 minutes.
Oh, wow.
I know, so not to keep you too long, we've had a couple of questions just to do with, to be honest, I'll probably answer them.
Yep.
But they're to do with facilities at the airport and opening times again for when we restart. So just to remind people, we are back with commercial flights on the 29th of March. We're flying to Malaga. Separately to that, we've also got Faro, Palma de Mallorca, Amsterdam and Malaga. That's it, isn't it? So as I say, relaunching 29th of March. Please feel free to let me know if you're flying on one of those planes. That would be great, and we can give you a little shout out on socials, something like that. But we have had a question to do, when flying starts again, what time should passengers arrive at the airport? Will there be refreshments and all that sort of thing? As you'll expect with most airports, we obviously like you to get here nice and early. So a good buffer is about 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours. Definitely 2 hours. Everything will be open for you, check-in desks, and you can breeze through security and head straight on down into the main terminal.
Nice.
In terms of refreshments, plenty. We've got what's called the Pilot Cafe. You can get all sorts of drinks and bits and bobs from there. And we'll also, I don't know if I can say this, there might be a new cafe. Someone can tell me off after if I'm not supposed to reveal. But yes, so we will have hopefully another concession outlet for you as well. And of course, we'll have WH Smith and World Duty Free, where you can get your meal deals at WH Smith and buy plenty of discounted tax-free perfumes at duty free and that sort of thing. So the things you'll expect, they will be there. And of course, we'll have our own little outlets as well with our amazing sort of front of house staff. So
Happy days.
2 hours before is a safe bet. Breeze through check-in because it is easy breezy and straight on through. So feel free to spend some money.
Some money here.
Yeah. A similar question: facilities at the airport as well and refreshments.
Yep.
So we've sort of covered
That's
that
come up
one
here. Yeah, people ask
well.
that.
Wonderful. Anything else on your?
There was one. Ian Finley's saying you mentioned that Southend has the microclimate. So what category of ILS do you have?
We have a Cat 1 ILS.
Yeah.
Just a Cat 1, yeah.
There we go then, Ian. There you go. I'm just trying to see if there's any...
What's that mean?
We'll go on.
It's hard to explain. So Heathrow, I think, has like a Cat 3B ILS. So when it's foggy, you can have more movements, essentially. And they have like a lower decision height. So the pilots have to make a decision. If they can't see the runway by a certain height, they have to go around. So here it's probably a little bit higher just because our runway is quite narrow as well, so it's more dangerous, but we only have a Cat 1. Whereas at Heathrow, if you want to keep everything moving, not have everything divert elsewhere, you need a sort of like a more complicated ILS or like a more accurate one. So their decision height, I think, is only like 50 feet.
Interesting. Right, they went straight over my head, but thank you very much.
It goes straight over a lot of people's
No,
heads.
that's fine. It's interesting because we have a mixed audience, really.
Yeah.
People sort of understand that sort of thing, and other people that just want to fly to certain places. So hopefully we've covered all bases. But yeah, unless there's anything else from either of you.
Just a thank you from one of the viewers here on YouTube, Gary Fellows. He's one of our regular viewers. He works for EasyJet. This is the gentleman I was saying about earlier on.
Speak to your manager, Gary.
Yeah, he's so happy to see that EasyJet are now going to be using back the base, and he's cabin crew for EasyJet. So he's really happy to see things back. So another round of applause from him. Hopefully he'll get to work a bit earlier.
Look, you said it, I didn't say anything about that. But yeah, so once again, the final sort of summary. So thank you very much to you both. So we've had my amazing sister Eve, who works in the tower.
Well done, Eve.
She's one
Absolutely
of
brilliant.
Our air traffic control officers. She's popped down today to sort of answer some questions and teach me a lot of things that I had no idea about. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
And again, Chris. So Chris streams on a platform called SDTV,
Thank you.
Speedbird TV. So if you are, a really avid aviation fan or just interested to see how it works, he travels all around different airports, live streaming most days of the week, I think.
4 to 5 times a week.
4 to 5 times a week. So he's very kindly popped down today to
It's been a pleasure.
sit again and answer some
absolute
questions.
pleasure.
So we're back commercial flights 29th of March. Once again, repeat, Faro, Amsterdam, Palma de Mallorca and Malaga. Any other information, it's all on the website, so it's southendairport.com. And if you've got any questions, always feel free. Every Friday we'll try and do Q&As on the Frequently Asked Friday, little pop-up on socials.
Yeah.
Give us a follow. And honestly, it's you'll be chatting to me, so feel free to fire away and I'll do my best. But thank you very much to everyone.
There's a lot of love I'm just seeing as we're sort of closing up. There's a lot of love that's sort of coming through again, but like best wishes for SEN. Thanks for the mention, like absolutely brilliant stuff. Like people are really happy. So there's a nice community sort of buzz that's going on.
Yeah.
Like really good. So yeah.
Good, wonderful. I think we're going to very awkwardly stand up and go down.
No, it's all right. Yeah, there we go. This is sort of all new. This is all new to us. Like at the second, guys. So it's.
You can all leave now. We're done.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant.
Right. Do you want me to pop up and turn it off?
No, I can go up and do it. Like so, as long as you're all happy.
Days,
but guys, I'll tell you what. I'll sign off on here.
Reshare it.
Yeah, reshare it, and obviously give the guys at Southend Airport a follow. It's fantastic, and massive round of applause once again, guys. I'm very humbled to be here, and it's so nice to see this. So thank you to you both, and thank you to Southend Airport. So there you go. And this is probably your first time seeing me on camera, so don't get used to it.
It's coming in for your close-up now.
Yeah, coming in for the close-up. Right, so guys, we'll see you a bit later on.
Okay.
Right, and we are